Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we're going to look at a complex architecture. Now, do remember that going forward, the next two sessions is going to be like really tough and complex, but it's not something which is undoable. There's always a way that you can understand these concepts with a better explanation. So I'm going to do that for you guys. So there may be a point in this video, in these videos, next two videos, that may be too much complex for you, and you may have some questions, or you know how to, ask questions. You can leave it on the question section. Do remember that if it is becoming overwhelming for you, just try to go from the beginning, or just relax yourself with a coffee or a tea, so that you can really understand this much better. Now, when we talk about dynamic provisioning of your persistent volume, you are going to involve two new components here. That's your first one, which is over here, which is your storage class. Another one is deploy provisioner. So the provisioner should be deployed as well as part of the service, storage class. Now, storage class will be calling upon something. So this is basically a replacement of your persistent volume. Now, if you take a traditional deployment of a persistent volume, you found it very simple. Like, you define a persistent volume over here, and then you configure a persistent volume claim where you claim from the existing persistent volume, and then your contents get started writing over there. So it was very simple steps, step 1, 2, 3. Step 1 had, very simple step, which is over here, where you have the persistent volume defined with the storage, which is 1 GB, where you are quite statically defining what is the storage available for your volume. And there is no way of dynamically increasing or decreasing the requirement on your persistent volume claim, because your persistent volume itself is declared a specific size over here, and there is no way that you can work your persistent volume without a declaration. So this is the downside of having a persistent volume directly declared. Another way of doing this is through the storage class, in which we are actually focusing on it right now. But the problem with the storage class is that you cannot just define the storage class directly. Okay, it needs something called a provisioner. So you need to do a deployment of a provisioner, which is another, image which needs to be deployed on top of this storage class, which is basically the provisioner deployment. This is the provisional deployment. So this is going to be over here, and that's the first thing you need to do. And on top of a provisioner, you will actually deploy the storage class. And in the storage class, we will be mentioning the provisioner's details, so that the NFS details will be actually mentioned in the provisioner. And those details will be loaded on the storage class. And then you'll be creating a PVC. When you create a PVC, this is where actually you'll be defining the storage space which is required. On the service, on the storage class, you'll be defining whether you want this to be a dynamic, or it should not be dynamic, as in, like, in the future your PVC wants to be updated with a different size than what is mentioned previously. So those options, as well as there are multiple options, also is something which you will be mentioning. We won't be seeing all those options in the first video, which is the next one, but we will be exploring all the options on the advanced video. But do remember, before go to the advanced video, finish this one first, because there are certain things which we won't be talking on the advanced video, like provisioner, because we will use the same provisioner which we are using over here. So we won't be reconfiguring the provisioner one more time, because only once you need to configure the provisioner, and then you can use it for all dynamic dynamic volumes, the same provisioner, because it doesn't make any sense redefining this. So do remember that you need to finish this video if you're going for dynamic volumes. You need to finish this video first, and then go to the next video for the labs, and then after that go to the advanced one. That should be the hierarchy. When you create a persistent volume claim, then it will start bounding to the persistent volume. Now you must be wondering, oh, where is the persistent volume? We never created it. Well, you don't have to create it. The storage class which you're creating over here, it will automatically create a persistent volume once the bound is created. Once the bound is created with the PVC, PVC will be bounded to your PV, just like all the other classes which you have seen. But then the PV will be created autonomously by your storage class. And the storage class will create a PV, and PV will be associated with the PVC. Ignore that fact that the PV is not in this diagram because it doesn't take any precedence over what we are doing right now. So, and then the PVC will be assigned to your pods, which is going to be created, and the containers in the pod will be having the access to the file system. In terms of the configuration changes on your deployment of your pods, there's no configuration changes. Your configuration changes will not be there present here because you will be actually mounting your PVC just like how you did it before. In PVC, you will be actually mounting to the storage class. So in the configuration file, it will be talking to storage class, but on the when you look at the output of the PVC, it will be actually talking to PV. And there will be mention of storage class as well, but still it will be talking to PV in terms of the hierarchy towards communication. And then the storage class will actually talk with PV as well and PVC as well. It has both the configuration, and it will also talk with your provisioner, because provisioner, it has the details about your NFS drives and stuff. In the previous examples, what we have seen is that the PV has the NFS related items. Like for example, you can see that either the host path or the NFS path, persistent volume had it. In this configuration, right, your storage class will not have any of those configuration. Well, ignore this. It is not how it is. So you can ignore this particular tag. So when we do the hands-on, you will see it. It won't be like this. It will be only having the provision name and some options. And provisioner name will be the provisioner name which we are actually defining over here. So here you have given the provisioner name as this one, right? So you need to copy this provisioner name there. And NFS server name and NFS path will be all declared through the environment variable using this particular provisioner external subdirectory NFS one. So this is a separate image which you need to mount it. So what I'm going to do is like I'm planning to deploy this image on my manager node. Why? Because this is administrative process and I wanted to run on my manager node. Is it possible? Yes, we can ask this pod to be created in a node which I wanted to be created. So that's an option which I'll show you in the labs. So don't worry about it. So what will happen is like this provisioner will be running on the manager node as a deployment. And on top of that, you will have the storage class configured and PVC configured, and you will start seeing PV. And then we will create this deployment, and you will see the replicas running with pods, and they will be able to access this PVC. One more thing to note, a tiny detail, is that when you create a dynamic deployment, it's going to create a folder by itself. Like inside your MNT NFS, that's your NFS location, it's going to create a folder with the name of your PVC. So whatever the PVC name with the namespace, it's going to create a folder. Within that folder only, it will update all those details of this one. So that folder will be created for that file size you have mentioned over here. So that's the available space it will give, and it will be created inside your NFS directory. I will show you in the hands-on. So one more thing you should know is that this provisioner requires some permission, because as you can see in this video, in this picture, we are calling something called a service account name. So this service account name should have some permission. So which we may need to run some authentication. So for that, I'll be using another file, which is also part of your GitHub page. So don't worry, all the coding is given as part of your GitHub page. So we'll be configuring the provisioner, we'll be configuring the storage class, your PVC, as well as all your pods over here in the next video. And I'll show you successful communication which happens through NFS. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one.